Okay, right, we're back again with another sort of update video, sort of ramble. It's more sort of good news, really. That there's some stuff been going on here, which means we're moving forward with videos, which is good. So first off, we've got that right there. So this here is the straight up the Tamiya M4 Sherman. So that's the older kit, you see it around, sort of green tank on the front of the box, about 20 quid, 25 quid here in the UK. This kickstarts not an update, I guess, to what I did a while ago, which was the beginner's guide to armor modeling. So I've been trying my sort of mentally for about 2 years to get myself back into the zone of doing. I'd like to build through a number of the Tamiya kits, really, the tank kits, just out of the box. So this was the one that I wanted to do, which was linked into, like, for writing a book a year or two ago. So that's all gone, but I did build the model and I've got it finished. It's in the Italian scheme, so reasonably early on, 1943. Something a bit different, so it's got the sand camo over the olive drab. I've painted up the figures. I was going to do a base, but I thought, well, this is meant to be what you can achieve just with really basic skills that you can learn just by following the video, and free products. So I changed it up this time. He says, where's the other one gone? Oh, I must have taken it in the other room. Anyway, I chose to, this time, just do off-the-shelf free products. So we've got dry step splashes from Ammo, European Earth pigment, and then there was just the dark green wash for green tanks, basically, US olive drab. So nice and simple. And all we did was build it, paint it with Tamiya acrylics. Then I think I even used, yeah, I did. I'm pretty sure, because that's the whole point of it. I even used X28, so I didn't use Mr. Leveling Finish. It was all stuff you could get just by going to your local model shop. You could buy the kit, buy the paints, airbrushes. That's a whole nother video, but there isn't much of an excuse now. If you're going to get into the hobby and you want to try hard and try and give it a go and maybe dedicate yourself to it. If you think about other hobbies, I do fishing, for instance, quite can be, if you want to get into it, expensive startup costs, which people are willing to do. But when you think about modelling, I just want to buy a model kit, and then you buy some brushes and you brush paint Tamiya over it, and then you think, why doesn't it look like what I wanted it to look like? Well, you need to invest a little bit. About 100 quid, you can be totally set up with an airbrush with 2 or 3 needles. I think this has got all sorts of different needles, a compressor, and even, some sort of spray booth. So things are cheap these days, especially on Amazon. So obviously I'm doing it from the point of view of an airbrush. So you could buy all the stuff that you need just using the basic Tamiya products, free washes, and we can get quite a good result. So I just need to finish this off. So what I'm going to do is spray dust now. So what we've done, I know you can't see it, that's the point. I don't really want to show too much, that's the whole point of watching the video. But I've really done dust washes using thin down dry step splashes, and then mix the pigment in as I've done before in many videos, and just let that sort of stay in there. And then now the final thing that seals it all in is the age-old method. This was in Tamiya model magazines that I had in 2001 or whatever it was. You just fin buff right down, so it's almost like 95% thinner, and you just slowly bring that up, and it'll tie everything in with, like, it's got a nice little sort of just very basic dust covering on, and I'll have everything apart from the figures on at that point. So we've got all the stowage on, and call it a day, and I thought, well, we could do a base, and I thought we could put the aerial in and do all the tie downs, and I think, well, the whole point is to come back from that a little bit, to stay in keeping with building it completely out of the box. All the stowage comes in the box, and not getting too worried up about accuracy and, oh, how's all the stowage staying there, because if you worry about that, you're not going to finish your model, or you're going to get annoyed with it, or you're not going to stay in the hobby. So the whole idea is approachable techniques that are really easy, filmed all the way through, so it's going to be quite in depth, probably 3 videos at least. There'll be at least a build, at least a paint, and at least a weathering, and then I might talk about bases once I've got a few of these done. The other one I've got is there's a bit, kits have piled up above it, I'm afraid, but the classic grey Tamiya Early Tiger. I'm not going to paint it grey. That's a line I can't go past. I'll correct the scheme because it's not actually grey, but other than that, you know, we use the vinyl track straight out of the box and get it built. It's a good thing for me as well, because I'm notorious for wanting to super detail things, so it slows me down, makes me understand there is an enjoyment to just building a model out of the box, and then it gives you guys who may be new to the hobby, or maybe wondering how to build certain models, you want to have a go at something, or you want to have a go at building something, it gives you the option to watch a video about it. So, you know, my channel was meant to have stuff for the beginners, stuff for the intermediate, and I think that's kind of, I wouldn't I wouldn't like to say I'm jumping up to the expert level, but there's certainly enough for most modelers. I would think there's enough for you to get out of the channel. That's the hope going forward, and bringing that aspect back in, which I have neglected a little bit, gives me peace of mind. That's what I'd like to do. I'm also doing a similar thing for aircraft. I actually thought, you know, it wouldn't be a bad thing just to build through Tamiya's 148th aircraft over the next sort of 2-3 years. I'm not doing that necessarily, but I did pick up the Corsair, and if you've been listening, this isn't a podcast, if you've been watching my update videos, you'll know that I took a little break and we've had a baby and it's all sort of go, but in between all of that, I decided to get this Corsair built up. I've got everything in there painted. This is all the bits for it. Okay, same old thing. Where do I stop? When it's time for weathering. We even got the tractor. Now, keeping things really simple with this as well. It's just going to be, you know, a wash, maybe a little bit of highlighting, nothing more than that. I did get a base carrier deck that I ordered off of eBay, which is 3D printed. Believe it or not, this is 3D printed in resin, and it was printed like that. So, you know, no supports. You just printed it on the base like that. I mean, it worked, but bolder man than I am. Little bit tacky. It's not quite set, but again, I've had this for about 2 months now, so it's set a lot more than it was. But it's nice, you know. There's a nice lot of detail there. Obviously, you got the wood, and then the sort of metal runners that were, I think they were for tying down aircraft. Now, really, this would be all nice, pristine wood with strips of metal, and then just sort of a very dirty wash of black over it, because from what I can see, most carrier decks are black, and then there's just like scrapes and scratches where you can see the wood coming through, because it's just, you know, tires hitting it. So that's coming. I've got a list. Where is it on the list? Lists really help. If you're ever going to do something like run a channel and then feel bad when you don't upload stuff, well, write a list and you'll find that you just get through it, because I've finished my list for September. So yeah, that's on the list for October. So completion in October, release in November. Because I'm trying to get ahead of myself now with plenty of videos, and I kind of need to, because when I get the time, I need to use it. Feel really fresh now, back in the hobby. I feel rested and re-energized and up for it. I know what I'm doing. I got a plan. It was very muddy knowing what I was doing. I was sort of coming in here and just sort of going, oh, well, don't really want to get on with that. Don't really want. Now I know. I'm just working through until I've got to where I want to be. So that's good. So that's a lot of the stuff that's sort of coming on in the background. This is a placeholder video for this week, and then I've got at least, I've got something that I've finished. So I've finished 3 models in 2 weeks, because they were only like an hour away. So that's released. There's one build that's coming, so that's going to be 2 videos. There's this, which is going to be 3 videos. Then there's the Corsair, which I think probably just be 1 video. And then there was something else I was finishing off. which is going to be another 2 videos as well, and that's build videos. That's without doing anything now. That'll all be done in about a week. Just need to edit it. And then I've got a number of things I want to talk about, so I'm really confident that there'll be at least videos weekly going all the way through to January without problems, even with problems, sorry. So, and then if there are no problems between now and January, well, all that time, you know, hour here, basically getting an hour a day, which is plenty. You know, it's surprising what you can do in that hour. I'm also getting a little bit of downtime at work as well. So it's one of those things where you have to be there, but there's actually downtime. So I managed to grab an hour there as well, doing some other sort of building. So I'm really enjoying it, you know, maybe getting modelling an hour or 2 a day, and not missing out on anything else. So, you know, it's really great. It's there's a nice little balance at the minute, but there we are. And that's even with some major cock-ups coming out of the woodwork, but they all seem to settle down. So it's a surprising thing. It's well, you know, I guess that's life, isn't it? So there's some things I wanted to talk about in this video. We've got a little update of what I've been working on, and again, you know, I'm focusing on one thing now. There's nothing else. Then it'll be another. Then it'll be the Corsair, and then it'll be something else. So we'll go on like that. I have got. I'm really proud of this. Now I got some different weathering sets, which we'll talk about. Well, when this video comes out, we'll use that to talk about it. But I was really pleased with the effects I was getting. I don't know if we can see. Now this is a bit of a jump from what I'm used to doing. But if you see some of the scratches there, all of this, I'm really pleased with how that's come out. I don't tend to do chipping. And what these are is the Life Colour acrylic washes, which are removable. They come with a remover, and sure enough, you know, until you lock them in, which this is now locked in with a varnish, you can remove them and you can paint them on. You can be really subtle. Now this is meant to be fuel stains, which perhaps didn't work, but the chipping behind there, I mean, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. And again, trying to do it sort of quite heavily beaten on here. I've even done some streaking as well. Because this is a training vehicle, so I wanted it to look pretty heavily worn. So yeah, really pleased with that. So all I got to do now is the mud and dust effects, which I'm going to actually go back to enamels for that, and that will bring this one to a close as well. And I'm going to do a little base for it, and that'll be another one off the shelf of doom. Yeah, I mean, the last thing I want to talk about, which we use this segment on, is in this period. So I've missed it a little bit. Now usually I kick off in June. I do this every year. My main interest in history, above Spanish Civil War as well, is the war, Second World War, focusing on the war in the East. Now, I guess you could almost classify it as the early period of the war, say up to 1942, but it really is. The only bit in the West I find interesting is sort of Battle of France, D-Day and all of that. It's very, you know, it's amazing stories, very interesting, but it doesn't sort of grip me as much as the war in the East, and specifically from Barbarossa. So I've listened to a lot of audiobooks. I find actually reading these quite heavy military technical books is just a bit too much to read, but audio I tend to take it in, and they're all unabridged, so I count them as read, as a lot of other people do. And it is amazing some of the stuff that really went on over there. The war is just, you know, every year 41, 42, 43 and 44 is just insane, really. And it all sort of comes to a head with Bagration, or however you want to pronounce it, in 44, where Germany get kicked out of Russia, well and truly. But my main focus is Operation Barbarossa. And every year, so it runs from June, I don't know the actual dates, it's towards the end of December. So it's June the 22nd of June to, oh look, I can't look it up because I'm filming this on my phone. It's some point in December. I can't quite remember where it is, but it fizzles out long before that, really. And the main action is kind of through the late summer and into the autumn of 1941. The vehicles that we used during this and the aircraft are just fascinating. There's a wide range of aircraft and tanks that we used during it. It was mainly a tank. It wasn't mainly a tank battle. There was a huge air war as well. So what interests me is very much the Soviet and German armour, and mainly the German aircraft. I haven't really got too excited about the Soviet aircraft from this period. I do like the Sturmovik and of course the I-16 as well. I think I've got an I-16 Type 18 or something, one of the Edward ones, which is probably would fit for this as well. So I'm going to try and do, I always like to do a build for this. Last year I did the Panhard. This year I'm going to do something during the period. It's like a sort of group build for myself. I got so much interest in it. I thought about, you know, starting a group or doing something with it, but for the minute I got enough on my plate. And I think it's nice just as something for me. But certainly the amount of vehicles that are available is just staggering. And then you even get weird things like that, which is this is a a Spanish built armoured car used in Spain during the Spanish Civil War, driven across the border into France at the end of the Spanish Civil War, left there, captured by the Germans when they beat France, taken into their pool of vehicles, and then used in Russia. Madness, you know. And you got British vehicles used by the Germans, you got British vehicles, French vehicles, all sorts of things. And then there even, towards the end of it, is even some Lend-Lease coming in, which I didn't realise. I just was listening to a book. David Starley or Starley, or I don't know. I think he's from New Zealand. He's done some brilliant books. The one I'm listening to at the minute is Kiev, but the other one is Operation Barbarossa. And it's just, if you ever want to think, if you ever want to sort of check yourself on how good were the Germans, listen to that book and you'll find it's a miracle they did anything really with the logistics that they'd worked out. I think there was, sure I'm not getting this wrong, 10,000 different types of vehicle used by the Germans in this operation. Just think about the amount of, it sounds a lot. I think, no, surely it must be 1,000. I'm pretty sure it's like 10,000 different vehicles. Yes, I'm going to stick with over 10,000 different makes of vehicles that weren't necessarily German. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong there. What I'm talking about is like logistical trucks, not tanks and stuff. Like they had Renault trucks, Bedfords, blimmin'. It's just crazy anyway. So, you know, then they got to have parts for every single different, and it just goes, instead of having 10,000 Willys Jeeps, so they all use the same wheel, nuts and engine. It's just insane. And this just goes on and on and on and on and on with the whole thing, you know, the railway gauge. That's the most staggering thing that comes out of the book. That the idea is to capture, this is the German idea for using the railways once they take Russia, was to change the gauge initially. No, it was to capture stocks. So capture the rolling stock. Of course, the Russians blew it all up. So they only captured a small amount of what they wanted to do. So then they thought, right, okay, well, we'll use what we got that's captured, and then we'll rip up the railways and relay them because it's a different gauge. Already that sounds like too big a thing to have to do. Then they start running the trains on the new gauge that they set to use the infrastructure that was already there in Soviet Russia, without realizing that the Soviet engines were bigger with a higher capacity. So as they needed to refuel, rewater, and recoal and all of that, and drop off, the distances between those on the journey were too far apart for the German locomotives, so they had to build depots in between every depot because their engines didn't have the capability of going the distance that the Russians ones did. So, I mean, That alone would be enough for me to think, I think we'll just turn around and go on back, guys. Oh, anyway, so that's without even talking about the vehicles. And what's really exciting, if you're into tanks, is right at the beginning. Now, I never realised this. I never was one for the T-34. And I always thought, like, the beginning of Barbarossa, no, you know, it's not T-34s, it's BT-7s, BT-5s blipping around, the old T-35 and T-28s, silly things, and KV-2s. Well, of course, there were T-34s, there were KV-2s. And it's not only T-34s, it's a specific type. It's the very early one, he says, as he's trying to find the pictures of it. Yeah, the really early T-34, which is actually called an A-34 initially, because it's almost like the prototype. Now this is Zaloga. I don't think he calls them A-34s, but I got the T-34 book and they call them A-34s. But really, it comes down to the gun. Then that takes me on a whole journey thinking, God, nice to get a model of that. I swear Dragon used to do good T-34s. Yes, they did, but they don't do them anymore. I used to be able to get them before I stopped the hobby initially, so about 2005. I used to be able to get Dragon kits for like 20 quid, and it would come with a metal barrel, individual link tracks, all this, that, and everything else. Well, they still do, but they are more like 60 quid, not 20 quid. Anyway, cut a long story short, I found that this got re-released under this branding, which is Mono Dragon. No idea what it means. Oh, so it's Mono Dragon and it's Platts. Who knows? Anyway, we don't need to worry about any of that because the kit is in here. Now, I ordered this. Where did I get it from? Super Hobby. So it was in stock in that Polish company, which actually postage to the UK is cheaper than some UK model shops. So I put a little order together, and they do Panzer art stuff. So I did get more for a luxury really than necessity. So this is the T-34, and this is what it comes down to. Can't see that. It's the F11 gun. So really what makes this unique is one little sprue, which, can you find it? And it's basically the gun sprue. Yeah, so it's that sprue there, B, which makes it the 4041 version, which means it's got the early gun and the funny little mantlet, which has this kind of weird like chin thing. It's not chin, is it? It's more like a, I don't know, it reminds me of an elephant trunk or something. So it's the early gun. So this is one of like the really first versions of the T-34, which is interesting in its own. And then knowing that it was deployed during Barbarossa, that's kind of the only place it was deployed, and that the kit was still around. So glad to get that. Now I would like to get this one built before December, so that is one I'm planning to do. And as I was looking through, there was the later T-34. That's very hard to find, but this was on eBay just floating around. And what Dragon did is these kits were kind of revolutionary when they came out. I think like 2004. There you go, 2004. Revolutionary. We hadn't seen anything like it. It came with individual link tracks, weld seams, nice build, really easy build, really accurate. The shapes, everything was perfect about it. And then as they went forward, they started adding their little bits to make them into kits that you now expect from Dragon. And now what happens here is same kit, it's only about a month or two later, comes with this. Now in between, I don't know if this has got it or not. So there was a version before this one. This is just the German. It's the same plastic, it's just got German decals. They didn't really capture many of these, so it was a bit of an odd choice. So we jump into the horrific Dragon coloured photograph instructions that were terrible and remind me of building models in my late teens. But they did give you, there's a screen at the back, so it used to be like that. So initially the first kit of this was like that, and then they changed it to give you photo etch here, and then you get a card. I don't know if it's in here. Yeah, it is. It's really bonkers. I remember getting this because I had one of these kits. Didn't know what it was. I just built it for a T-34. You get this piece of card which is meant to show something through the grills, which is kind of a nifty little idea, really. But anyway, got photo etched metal barrel. So this is basically the next T-34 used in Barbarossa after the early model. And well, you know, when the Germans came across these, they didn't really have anything to knock them out. But luckily for the Germans at that point, the deployment was rather poor from the Russian side of things, so they did get knocked out and taken out. So that's that second T-34, which is, you know, crops up everywhere after sort of the first couple of months. And then initially the ones you're seeing is the 1940 model, which is that one. I've got a lot more photos in the T-34 book, and we'll spend a bit of time talking about that. There you can see that funny gun there. So brilliant stuff. And as far as the German vehicles, I got tons of them, tons and tons and tons of them. So I'd like to at least build one or two models from this period. And I was over in Crew Models, and $12.99 for a Profi Pack F2, which has, apart from that scheme, these are all Barbarossa schemes. So that's fantastic as well. And I think this deserves a standalone review and then a build, because I hadn't seen the Edward 172nd 109. It's just spectacular. The camera won't do it justice, but you know, it's that big. It'd be palm of your hand, and it's got full rivet detail all over it. So this is a full-on Profi Pack, and we will try the decals, because I'm hearing that each year that goes on they're getting better and better and better, so hopefully that's the case. And I don't have anything else. I don't have any in 72nd, and I'm going to probably get a couple of F2s in 48th as well to do some schemes. But some of the schemes, I think, really, the box art, you know, Gunter Lutzow, you know, there's nothing wrong with that as a scheme. But, you know, that's Barbarossa, this is Barbarossa, so are those two. They're all very, very attractive schemes. And that one, you know, that's probably asking a bit much in 172nd for me. And then that's later. So that's something where we were saying in the previous video, if you're following along, maybe concentrate on doing projects that I want to do. This is what I want to do. Great interest in this. So once I've managed to clear some projects and get some videos ahead of me, pressure's off then. And I'm going to work on some of these kits and try and find something that's, you know, rather exciting and an interesting video, and not just tanks. Because I have my list here. I will let you into a little secret for videos. October is just aircraft, because there's tons of tanks coming on. I've got loads of tank content for the tankers out there. So I'm going to move into aircraft, and I'm going to drop down as well and do some 172nd aircraft. This is over like the next kind of 4 months. So stay tuned to that. I've been neglecting aircraft. I want to get some on the channel. Corsair there again is probably a week of 3 or 4 sessions, and that's finished. So that's done as well. It's all filmed up to that stage. So rest assured there's plenty coming down the line. So hopefully that is of interest. I am going to delve deeper into some of these kits on standalone videos over the next sort of couple of weeks. So I'll be releasing that as well, so you can see those, and we'll go from there. So hopefully that's of interest and a little insight into the stuff that's been interesting me for the sort of last, I don't know, 3-4 months, and continues to. And hopefully there's some interest in there as well. So what should we, let me know about, has any of you built the Edward 172nd 109s? Be interesting to know. Would you like to see a one of the old Edward Profi Pack I-16s to go alongside in 148th, but to go alongside this kind of project? And who out there remembers and built and got a stack of every single one of these? Oh, whoops, nearly knocked the airbrush off then as well. And remembers the old T-34 fondly. Oh, I did, because I felt like, well, it wasn't that expensive. I did get photo etch sets for each one. They were only like, I don't know, because they're so old, they were like a £5 each, I think. Not very much. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Oh, I must say, naively, when I explained about the baby, I wasn't actually expecting a load of congratulatory messages, but I should have been, probably, because it's obvious. So I was slightly overwhelmed at the amount that came in, so thank you very much for everyone that left messages. I read through all of them. I think even my parents, I went up there and they had it on, they'd seen it. Well, it was on Dad's YouTube, so he'd obviously shown Mum because baby was on. Anyway, madness, absolute crazy stuff, all of this sitting in front of the camera. But thanks for watching, and as always, if you like what you see, let me know in your comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video.